Welcome to Disrupted Science, the occasional conversation between the authors of the book How the Internet Disrupted Science, now available wherever books are sold. I'm Joy Moore here with my co-author Ken Anderson, and today is Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. Hey, Ken.
Hey Joy, how's it going?
It's going well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I discovered I have a new activity.
Oh
Um
boy.
yes. In addition to all of my other extracurricular activities like pickleball, I have been introduced to the world of speed trivia,
Oh.
which is the new fangled pub quizzes.
Mm-hmm.
And
To
I'm,
follow on when all that speed dating stuff, they kept the speed but went to trivia.
yeah. And so I've been, last night was like the third time that I've gone. And at first I was like, I don't like this because you have to use your iPhone or an iPad. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an in-person event,
Right.
and they have them everywhere. And you could probably do it every night if you want. But you, rather than writing things down and then turning them in, there's a specific app where you put in your answers and they, again, the same like size and shape of most like trivia quizzes.
Right.
But you get more points for being faster
Mm.
than being, I mean, you have to be
So
correct,
points
but
are draining away as the clock ticks.
exactly. So it's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit like intense. And you don't write out the whole answer. You just put in the first letter of
Mm.
what the answer might be.
And that's when your clock stops.
And that's when your clock stops. And so if
Okay.
there's no whoopsies, no backspace, no, I
Right,
didn't
right,
mean
right,
to do that.
right.
So
Interesting. That could be a lot of fun.
yeah, it's really fun. And it was a great way. I went with a few of my friends last night. We did not do well because of
The
the
comp
main topic was country music songs, and
uh,
apparently we don't know very much about country music.
the
Uh,
composition of the group makes a big difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but the important thing is it was fun, and there are a lot of other people who do this on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so if you
Oh,
have the
very cool.
opportunity to do speed trivia, I recommend it and support your local trivia master.
Well, I
Um,
have some trivia for you. I used
okay.
to be a quiz master.
I That doesn't surprise me for a second.
So coming out of COVID, there was kind of like, how do we get back to doing things in person?
Hmm.
And so there's this company that does it called Geeks Who Drink.
Uh-huh.
And so they had a few quizzes in our area, so I applied, and they're a really great company and really nice people and everything. But I did it for a short period of time, but it was super fun and great way to get back into society for everybody involved. But one thing I learned is that COVID is what brought you that online tool, because
Yeah.
before COVID it was all paper based, and then when they went into COVID to keep their business going, they did virtual pub
Yeah.
quizzes. And that's when they developed the online tools. And then when they came back, it's like people didn't want to handle paper, there was still social distancing enforced and all of that. So it let people who are comfortable with each other get in their booth and still do it and not pass papers and all that kind of stuff. And so it's interesting to see how, necessity is the mother of invention
Yeah.
still. And the inventions that came out of that necessity are good. And then you get speed trivia, and
Yeah.
country music
And
still stumps most of us.
well, you know what? And this is what I said to my friends is guess what? We're never going to get these questions wrong again.
Yeah,
So at least you learn something in the
exactly.
meantime. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So the other thing we wanted to kind of riff on a little bit is we wanted to do a little shout out to two kind of old, long in the tooth internet properties that are still hanging in there and fighting for doing it right, which are Reddit and Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And, they are trying to remain reality based, shall we say, in an era where that's more and more difficult and more of an uphill battle. And I think that they are doing a good job. But you came across the Reddit thing, right?
Yeah, there was a really good episode of the Vox podcast, Today Explained,
Mm,
that talked about what's going on in Reddit world. And I go on Reddit every once in a while, but it's not my jam. I mean,
right.
Reddit is one of the most highly cited sources
Hmm.
in AI products because it is human based.
Right.
And what they've encountered is they've had their own invasion of the robots, of the influencers that have been kind of polluting these threads, and their forums are human moderated.
Hmm.
So each one has their own rules and things like that. But Reddit has had to try to use AI to counteract AI kind of
Yeah. The Civil
upstream
War.
is
Yep.
is 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 filtering the input, and the fact that Reddit is still one of the most trustworthy places on the internet while it is anonymous, I find kind of wonderful. And
Hmm.
Wikipedia is the same way, right? There's
Right.
no attribution to the authors, but you just know
Or the editors.
that, or
Yeah.
you hope that it's coming from humans.
Yeah, and there have been interviews with people who are working on Wikipedia too, and they're working their tails off to keep it from being overwhelmed by all the slop. And so I think that's, so shout out to them, Reddit and Wikipedia. You're doing it right. We love reality-based things. Keeping it
Hmm.
real, kids.
Yeah.
All right, but today we're going to keep it real in a different way, and we're going to talk about Anthony Fauci, the hearings, recent Senate hearings and contempt charges and all of that, his current travails, and then the broader picture where those fit in and how scientific publishing might have some splaining to do.
Yep.
So, all right, you ready?
I am. Let's do it.
Here we go. So, today we're going to talk about Anthony Fauci. And he got back into the news unexpectedly when he was brought before the Senate by Rand Paul, who is obsessed with COVID still, like a lot of the people in charge of health and human services and adjacent agencies these days. And, trying to rewind us to 2020 and relitigate everything and reinterpret the narrative in a way that they like. And he took the fifth because he was not going to be part and parcel with that reinterpretation and was ultimately held in contempt. But his travails, we think, have some relevance to us in the period from 2020 or before until now, and then going forward. And we wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's just remarkable that these people are still clinging to COVID um, era controversies and ideas and individual people, while we are far beyond that. And we're looking at a Health and Human Services department that is working against the health and the humans in this country. But I guess they don't have anything better to do.
Well, they don't have any real expertise, right? So they made their hay back in, like RFK made his hay when about thimerosal and vaccines and autism and all that. So that's his comfort zone. That's his wheelhouse, and that's where he retreats under pressure, right? It's like, okay, I'm
Hmm.
going to go back there and mess around with that stuff because, I've that's my crazy zone, and I know it really well, right? And then you have the people who emerged out of the COVID pandemic with their misinformation, like Bhattacharya and Rand Paul and Ron Johnson and all of those people. And so they're under stress politically now, and they're under stress from, in the polls and all of that. So they're going back to touch home base and say, okay, let's go back to where we're comfortable and persecute, the villain that we were persecuted back then and relitigate this whole thing. So I think it's a natural retreat for a lot of them and a kind of a telling retreat in a way, you know?
Yeah, it's kind
It's
of
like, don't you have
sad.
anything better to do? But
No.
like you said. But in 2021, healthcare expert Paul Keckley noted 5 flaws in the response to COVID-19, 3 of which are actually at scientific publishing's doorstep. COVID-19 science has been compromised by political self-interests. The influence of social media has been underestimated. And then the most important one, the scientific community has confused the public. And I think we participated in that infodemic that these people exploited and are now trying to reanimate for various reasons. So back in those days, there were hundreds of papers published every day. Speed was privileged over quality or relevance. 64% of papers had non-expert authors. 91% of authors overall were non-expert. More information mentality created chaos. Misinformation purveyors had a field day. That's where the Santa Clara study came from. It's where Bhattacharya got his start. It's where a whole bunch of these people got their start. And preprints became news sources. So as a result, unqualified political leaders and performative scientists were able to outcompete Tony Fauci and make his life basically a living hell. And there's the famous picture of him going like this,
Right.
holding his head in his hand or his forehead in his hand. And, for a guy with as much composure and poise as he has, that's like a tantrum.
Yeah.
That's a meltdown.
Yeah, the mountain of information, half-baked studies, and flat-out pseudoscience and disinformation that the scientific publishing community pumped out at that time there's no way. Like you can't whack them all, and argue with every little finding.
Right.
And I'm sure that it was a shock for them to have to translate to the public the fact that science is slow. We know some things. We're learning more every day. We make our best recommendations at the time that we know them, and they are subject to change. I mean, it's a really simple
Hmm.
story,
Yeah.
but also not engaging.
Right. And I'm not a public health expert, but I love public health experts and I read a lot of books by public health experts. And my interpretation of a good pandemic response would have been good, consistent, uniform, science-based messaging, day in, day out, from experts who are privileged and given the role of guiding us through this and deferred to when needed. That kind of simple, straightforward messaging that is a less is more approach that was really sorely needed. And we did exactly the opposite, right?
Mhm.
Scientific publishing went into overdrive,
Yeah.
and we created an inconsistent, attention-seeking, chaotic, science-defeating messaging space. And
Mhm.
now those people who benefited from it are sitting on the higher level than Tony Fauci in a Senate hearing and yelling at him and accusing him of all these things. And they're kind of the monsters we help make. And I think we need to acknowledge that and think about where we go from here, because the anti-science power is not waning currently. And we're continuing to pursue, I think, ideas that are not going to help correct things.
Right. We opened the floodgates, and the industry took hold, and it
Hmm.
hasn't slowed down at all. In fact, it's hockey sticking up. You can see the results. The number of papers that are going through has not slowed down. It's continuing to go up.
Right.
And so, like a number of, things that, the what is it, COVID amnesia. We
Right.
forgot why we did that in the first place, or why many publishers did, to say, well, this is a crisis time, so we're going to do a temporary, measure to hopefully get more information to people who can use it, but
Hmm.
then quickly ran with it. And now there is so much momentum behind open and now moving into LLMs, that it is, what started with a single purpose has turned into an industry standard that is being seen as inevitable. And the only way to make things better is to develop more software to process more junk.
Hmm. Yeah, and and politically, it's no mistake that these things are resurfacing before the midterms in the United States, because and Jonathan Howard of Science-Based Medicine and others is doing a great job of tracking this relitigation of it all.
Mhm.
But what it does is it allows candidates in markets that are already prone to distrust science and to think that that COVID was, was a hoax or was overblown or the vaccine's dangerous or whatever. It allows them the political entree again with that same messaging. And so the timing is not a mistake. They're
Mhm.
reanimating this in order to give candidates up and down the ballot a talking point that they know can work. And I think that that's important to kind of recognize that there's a political aspect to this that we need to realize, and that's why you have to be careful about science in the public sphere,
Mhm.
especially in an attention economy that is overheated, that's unpredictable, and that these people know how to run better than we do.
Yeah, the top down is concerning, but we're contributing to it from the bottom up by continuing to feed papers out there for news outlets to pick up, for people to sell products that are the solutions to the healthcare system that doesn't work for people. Um, Getting these papers in front of citizens on a daily basis is just feeding the fuel, and it's not helping. And we've talked to people, it's like, well, how can we do a better job at communicating science to the public? And the answer is don't.
Yeah,
um
communicate less and do it when
yeah.
it's very correct. So, the I have to point out, and I know everybody thinks I'm fixated on preprint servers, but if they stop being so bad, I wouldn't fixate on them. It's
Well, how
like,
would they stop being bad?
well, yes, that fair point.
They
But
could just
I
stop
have some
being.
ideas about how they could not be so bad, but because, maybe there's a legitimate purpose for them, but they need to be completely redesigned. But the fact is that Bhattacharya, a whole bunch of other people came out of bioRxiv and medRxiv, and then recently, Evan Giangrande, I think, I don't know how to pronounce his name quite correctly, but I did a post on it in July. He published a paper in Behavior Genetics where he's talking about how all these eugenicists have learned to use preprint servers in order to get eugenics messaging out. And that eugenics messaging is cheek and jowl with anti-vax messaging.
Mhm.
It's like, well, if your children weren't so weak, they wouldn't need vaccines. And if they got measles, they wouldn't die or get so
Right.
sick or scarred or whatever. And it's like, well, you're cruel and terrible. But the thing to note is that all the preprint servers he analyzed are funded by either Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, LLC, or Arnold Ventures, LLC, who are philanthrocapitalists. And one in particular definitely has an LLM angle on it. So, this is the kind of stuff we lay out in the book, but also we're not publishing. A lot of these things are not being put out there for the benefit of anybody except people who are trying to deceive us. And that's where I take exception with people who kind of blow this off as, well, you have to be open. Open will solve everything. Well, it doesn't show me how it has solved, the fact that poor Tony Fauci was dragged in front of the Senate and had to take the fifth when he's an 85-year-old public servant who helped us, who has a long history of helping America be healthier, with his progress on the HIV and AIDS, after initially kind of being a little bit skeptical or scratching his head about it, then he made huge steps. And, I mean, during his tenure, I don't think our food supply was as, tainted and despicable as it is now. So, he's a public servant, and
Mhm.
he's being vilified by people we helped make with all of these licentious publishing practices.
Right. And the relationship between NIH funding and US government funding in general, and scientific societies and scientific publishers, has been very fruitful for all three parties for a very long time. And one of the legs on the three-legged stool has been taken away,
Hmm.
which is they're pulling the funding from the top down, and the other two are kind of left on, on one hand, some of the societies are trying to step up to help their members and give extra funding where that funding is going away. But the other one, the publishers, are continuing on the same course and not trying to course correct. And that's the thing that really is a head scratcher for me. It's like we're working at cross purposes. If you're not going to
Hmm.
support the funding for the science that goes into giving people jobs and getting that have them produce
Doing good
papers,
research, yeah.
yeah, then we've completely diverged from any semblance of having a purpose.
Yeah. But when I was watching the news unfold and watching a little bit of the Fauci hearing, I just couldn't help but think, this is the culmination of, this is the ascendance of misinformation into political power. And we definitely played a part in that misinformation becoming so central to political power that, and neither one is helping us. And so I think as you watch these things, it's important to realize and just to think about what could we do better. And because right now the consequences are dire. Things are getting worse. We're seeing more and more. I was just reading today where another panel of people in the autism world has been uprooted by RFK Jr. and supplanted with a whole bunch of people with 1 or 2 degrees of separation from him and conflicts of interest and all of this. So, the corruption is it's becoming endemic to the U.S. government and its scientific institutions, and we have to. That was kind of an emblematic moment where it's like here was the world of before being yelled at by the world of today. And the reason the world of today is yelling so loud is because it's based on the attention economy. It's based on people who came up through the attention economy with misinformation, and it's all illegitimate. And we definitely played a role in making that happen. And so,
Hmm.
and so I think we need to worry about that.
Yeah. Well, and we can reflect on it, but at the same time, the other part that I'd like to call out is the distraction from the real situation that we're in now is this, well, we need more tech for more better someday all at once, right?
Right, right.
And so rather than doing less or looking to curtail some of the publishing or unplug some of the connections and things like that. It's just
Hmm.
full barrel ahead. Now we need to invest more in identifiers. We need to connect into the LLMs. Oh, our stuff is already in the LLMs. Okay, no. So now how do we get more stuff into the LLM? Oh, it's not good. Like, what are we going to do about it? And so
Right.
that's that's where the attention is going, is in this, this future perfect, as opposed to what did we just learn that we can see and document?
So before you and I came on air, we had an actually relevant conversation in a way because, we've had some mic issues, let's say, and I played, and I've had issues on stage with sound equipment and all of that. And in every case, it hasn't been add more cables, add more, gizmos, add more apps. It's been, oh, I had it plugged in wrong, or oh, I need to just, reboot or do a patch on whatever, and
Hmm.
it's simple human error. And what we're talking about is actually human error.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have erred in how we've deployed technology for scientific publishing. We have erred in how we have um, created incentives for getting scientific information out to the public, or to even to other scientists to scientists. And so, to your point, it's not that more technology is just perpetuating the human error of those very simple, you've got it in the wrong plug.
Yeah. Yeah, I created my own personal automated box of confusion because I plugged the mic into itself.
Right. Yeah. And I've done that before on stage with my keyboards, and
And
it's
I
like you're
just,
just in a
yeah,
hurry, and it's
but
like,
it,
but it's like, you want to, the temptation to say, well, if the technology's wrong, it's like, no, the technology's fine. How you're using it is wrong.
right. Yeah. But that's not interesting for people who need projects and, you know, want to keep reimagining the future and defining the standards for what's going to come next. I mean,
Well, and
just
also who are
unplugging and replugging it back in is not as fun as going to Best Buy and buying a whole new computer.
true. The retail experience at Best Buy is pretty good. You come out feeling pretty stoked, pretty buffed up. But the other thing is that's so funny is that so many of these people who are saying, you know, we need more technology, we need to more scale, we need more this or that, more brute force. They're kind of old at this point, and I say
Yeah.
that as one of as a friendly ARP eligible person. And so, it's also this, it kind of move your thinking forward, because again, every time I interact with somebody on the younger side, they've compartmentalized technology in a big way in their lives.
Yeah.
And they see it for what it is. And we're kind of the problem in a way.
Hmm.
This generation of, we drank the tech, we're the Kool-Aid kids around tech, and we can't let it go, because then that would be scary.
Yeah, then what would we do? We would just go back to publishing a few papers for the people who need them.
We can't do that. That's not cool. That's not cool. But we might have saved Tony Fauci silly, a painful day in front of the Senate and a bunch of lawyers' fees and all of that. So yeah, we just wanted to kind of raise this up and talk about some of the things. But then, taking it away from Fauci, how do we go forward? I think that, we need to, less is more. We've in interviews that we've had with people recently, they've talked about, the concept of the speed of science. And more papers is not a sign of faster science.
Mm-mm.
It's a sign of more papers.
Period.
Yeah. It's like, we talk about, you and I joke sometimes, I'll just say it here, about research integrity initiatives. They're actually paper integrity initiatives,
Yeah.
because you're not actually going into the lab and making sure the petri dishes were actually clean.
Right. And that's not the
You're-
job of a publisher. A
right.
publisher's job is not to make sure that what the research was done in the lab, whether that was done according to, all sorts of
It's
standards
a
and
head
things like
fake.
that.
It's a
Yeah.
head
And
fake to
it's
make
like,
us
what?
sound
Okay.
fancy.
Also, scientific publishers are not scientists and they're not science hall monitors. They're publishers.
Right, right, right. Decide what you want to publish, or just decide to reject it. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're not censoring anybody. But, the speed of scientific communication should be the speed that other scientists benefit from, whatever speed that is.
Mhm.
And when you see a scientist like Tony Fauci, 85 years old, lifelong public servant, impeccable credentials, a diary that was adorable at its worst, I mean, it's silly, but, and being persecuted like that over scientific misinformation, something's really gone wrong. And I think we need to own up to the fact that we played a part in that, and then think about how we can not let that happen again to whoever's the public servant these days trying to do the right thing.
Hmm. I think there are a lot of opportunities for creative thinking that don't have to do with, AI integrations. And
Yep.
so for publishers who really want to put their publishing hats back on, there's so many things that could be done
Mm-hmm.
simply. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you could just require people to authenticate. You don't
Right.
have to change your business model. You could just put up a little barrier here and there.
Right. Turn off your attention economy widgets.
Yeah, yeah, unplug
Stop playing on
your
social media.
feeds. Yeah,
Yeah.
stop feeding the beast. I mean,
Right.
that's and there
Don't give your
and out
content
of
to LLMs. Yeah.
right, and out of that could come some really interesting new publishing models, like truly not just, future gazing, but what actually makes sense now and how do you make that into a good business?
Right. And that gets back to one of the things about, we, a monoculture is not going to work, right?
No.
What can work for botanists may be different than what works for neonatologists or computer scientists. It's just let those communities decide what works best for their practitioners and their scientists. And there's a difference between open and freedom, and
Hmm.
that's a really important difference. There's also a difference between open and free as far as a price. Free is a price, open is a politics. And,
Hmm.
we need to recognize that we're playing politics, and the politicians who are yelling at Tony Fauci have exploited our open politics to create misinformation politics to give them power over people that I think is illegitimate.
Well said.
Thank you.
You really tied those all together.
Look at me. I think the caffeine has kicked in. All right. So let's go on to, we have a couple of discoveries of the week, and then we can, and they're both kind of Boston related, believe it or not.
Hmm.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So discoveries of the week. I'm going to go first per our schedule. If people are noticing the pattern, I'd be so impressed. But anyhow, so I was watching, the Red Sox are super fun to watch right now.
Hmm.
They are such a cool team, and oh my gosh, yeah. So, but they're also doing the Jimmy Fund fundraising
Hmm.
at Fenway Park this week. And so they have all these guests, and it's amazingly touching and beautiful stuff. They have families of cancer patients in, cancer patients. They're all so articulate. They're all so winning. And the stories are great. And they're raising millions of dollars by, there are people going through the stands and collecting money and doing, 50-50 raffle stuff and all this. It's just fantastic. I'm totally in love with the Red Sox and everything. But they had a guest I didn't expect, Maria Menounos,
Hmm.
who I only know from gritting my teeth while she talks in an ultra chipper voice about movie trivia and things like that before I see a movie, right?
Oh yeah, she's like the entertainment tonight of our generation.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, she's on like gas station pump
She's everywhere.
videos. Yeah.
She's like the Ryan Seacrest of the
Yes.
female Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah.
So, and I thought, probably as flimsy as a person as you might expect from somebody who's on your gas station pump, your gas pump and your movie theater thing, but no, total substance.
Hmm.
She's from Boston. She went to Emerson.
Hmm.
She threw out the first pitch the other night, and she did a really good job. She's had a lot of medical issues herself, and she's come out of it with a heart full of love. Actually, she's like, I need to help. I've been through this. I know what it's like. I'm going to help other people get through it too. And I've got this foundation, all this stuff. So all this great stuff. But then the best part. So here's Maria Menounos, and they say the hosts are so good on this, and the guy goes, "So do you still have a Boston accent?" And she said, "Oh, only when I'm drunk." And they all laugh, and she goes, "But I can do it when I," and she does this, just goes into Boston accent land, and she's perfect. And it's like, oh my gosh. All right. I have
Uh,
totally underestimated how cool you are. And I apologize. I didn't know you were from Boston. I didn't know you were as kind of, soulful as you are, and that you could do a wicked good Boston accent. And I'm like, all right, Maria Menounos, They're top shelf in my book all of a sudden. So that was my very happy discovery of the week.
All right. Well, next time you see her pop up, you can, give
Oh,
her a little.
salute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she even made a cameo. I can't remember what film it was in the last few years where it was like some sci-fi spoof film
Oh,
and
really?
they
Like as
actually used her in the background
a
as
reporter or
the
something?
reporter. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So she must have a good sense of humor as well.
Oh, yeah. She seems, yeah, she's a bright and shiny person, but I just didn't know she was so soulful and awesome.
Hmm.
So now I do. That was my discovery of the week. So there you go. How about you?
Well, I discovered why something that used to be soulful and awesome isn't anymore,
Mm-hmm.
which is also Boston related, is and I was listening, this is a total sidebar in a podcast that I was listening to this morning about Robert Maxwell. Just in the banter, they talked about how, things get ruined. And one of the fun facts is, do you know why Dunkin' Donuts are no longer good? And they traced it back, sure enough, because it was sold to VC in 2020. And
Mm.
so they
Was it
just
private equity or VC?
I think VC or private equity. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a big conglomerate, and
right.
so that's what they do. They they turn the screws and suck the life out of things. And so I never go to Dunkin' Donuts down here because I only go in Boston because that's where they know how to make the coffee for you. The people
Hmm.
in the rest of the country don't. Like even Connecticut, like don't trust it. Um, but yeah, so I'm just wondering how the Bostonians are doing with the Dunkin' Donuts these days. Are
Yeah.
they staying true or
I
are
don't
they
know.
moving on?
I don't go to dunks as they call it up here. I don't go to dunks myself. But I'll have to ask some of our. I know that their ground coffee in the store, their coffee beans are a bargain.
Hmm.
Because my wife grinds her own coffee, and Dunkin' Donuts is really good and it's super cheap. And so she's very happy because that hits both of her things. So
Yeah.
good and cheap. But the stores themselves, I think it's mostly drive-through for everybody, and that's yeah. But yeah, I mean, private equity and money managers and VC, it's not a good thing for businesses that want to cater to satisfying customers.
Right. And that's the magic of Dunkin' is that they make it for you.
Hmm.
You have to speak the language and know how to order to get what
Yeah.
you want. So I guess that magic is going away.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, one last little sidebar here. I'm watching the new season of Reacher, and
Hmm.
he's in Philadelphia. I had to look up how you order a cheesesteak,
Oh.
which I didn't know because he says something to the cheesesteak guy at the beginning, and I'm like, what? What was that? And do you know what he says? Wit wit, which I
Ah,
think means with onions and with cheese
whiz.
sauce, cheese whiz.
Yeah, wit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah, like a
so I had
Dunkin'
to look
Donuts
that
is
up, and
yeah, I'll have a large iced extra.
really,
I mean, that's one order
that's
for
your
Dunkin'
order.
Donuts. No, no, extra, that's not good for anybody. That's extra cream and extra sugar.
Oh yeah, that's not good. I'd rather have a wit wit. All
Yeah.
right, all right.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks to our friends at Provoke the Truth for the music. If you have topics you want us to cover, please email us at disruptedscience@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can also keep up with developments at the Geyser, where you can subscribe to support our efforts. And if you haven't ordered our book, you can do it now. And if you have ordered it and if you've read it, please leave us a review on Amazon if it's good. If you don't have a positive review, you can just send that to us separately.
There you go. Good way to handle it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the listens and the feedback. We appreciate it.
All right, bye.